Yep, so if you look right at my timeline, we can make it black and white, though, if we want, or we can make it like a dream, because that's what this is about to be for people, or a dance party.
Go all Twin Peaks with it.
Yes.
Where it's like all dreamy, but we talk backwards.
That's so right. There it is. Now it is like Clerks. We are black and white. All right, well, you're sharing that. I'm going to let people know what's up. Hey, Matt Koenig here. I won't be able to see your comments on Facebook because I'm streaming this from YouTube. So I'll look at your comments afterwards and respond to them appropriately, right? Fair. If you want to, just go ahead and click the link. Obviously, watch this on YouTube. You can comment while it's going live on YouTube as well. But today is Meet the Comic. This is episode 4 with Jason Alt. Jason Alt.
I'm episode 4?
Yeah, say the best for... Fourth. So, Jason hosts an awesome show every Wednesday night at Harvey's down here in downtown Kalamazoo. Actually, you're the first person that ever gave me stage time. Probably regret that now.
I mean, we all regret it.
Well, I know, but
I did that.
True story.
So I can't take all the blame because all of us didn't immediately nip that in the bud running out of town on a ramp. Am I looking at you or am I looking at the camera?
Well, I mean, you can look at whatever. The whole format of this.
How about I just look at my own
It's
phone?
just...
it's like, just...
the entire time.
Hang on, this is important.
Everything about you is wrong about this. So yeah, for those of you that have never watched, what we do is we get together, we chat for about a half an hour, and you get to learn about local comedy, great people on the scene like Jason, and what makes them tick, why they got into comedy and fun stuff like that. So this is an every other week thing. So follow on Facebook, whatever, subscribe on YouTube, and then you'll know when this stuff happens all the time. So that's here we go.
All right, this is happening.
Yeah. So I want to start by asking the same kind of stuff that I like to start with everybody, which is what got you into it, man? What got you going to, you know what, I'm going to get up and, take a risk of embarrassing myself in front of a bunch of weirdos I don't know.
I did improv in college, like in 2003, 2004, 2005, I did improv in college, and that's not funny. No. I always wanted to be funny, so I did comedy, I guess, when I did improv in college, but I always wanted to do comedy that was funny, and it took me another decade before I didn't know it was around. Well, I didn't even know that. I thought it was you had to have a comedy club, and that was you went to open mic night at the comedy club, and that was how you did. And I was just intimidated. That's what I thought it was too. I remember when Kalamazoo had in the whatever that thing, the entertainment district. Yeah. They did a comedy club thing, right, for a while. And I remember seeing it a few years ago, and I was like, oh, Kalamazoo got a comedy club. And I was like, I'm going to have to go check that out. And then I never heard about it again. So I thought, I didn't know there was anything around here until I think I stumbled across it at Louis. And I was like, what the heck? And then somebody was like, oh, yeah, it's so many nights. Well, Kalamazoo had a club. Shakespeare's was actually, I think, the Laughing Post, which was a Gary Fields club. Gary Fields being the guy who ran Gary Fields Comedy Club in Battle Creek since the 80s. I remember hearing about it back in the 90s. Yeah. So, but I think, I want to say probably all the profit from that went up someone's nose. There was actually a story. Some guy contacted the Laughing Post saying that they represented Tracy Morgan. They're like, just give us a $5,000 deposit to secure Tracy. And they're like, okay. And then that was just a guy. Just took him for $5,000. Yeah. By saying they had Tracy Morgan. Now that's unsubstantiated. I don't have a source on that. that's a thing I heard. So maybe that happened. That's a good story regardless. It is a good story, whether it happened or not. Is that now? Let's talk about the shows in Kalamazoo, because there's quite a few of them that go on, right? We got Sunday at Rupert's, Tuesday is at Louis. Now every other Thursday again is Shakespeare's, right? It's kicking back off in the fall. September. Okay. And every Thursday right now is Papa Pete's. Right. And every Wednesday, of course, tonight, Harvey's, which is always a great show. It's not always a great show. I think it's always great. Whether or not there's a ton of people, it's an intimate setting, so it always feels like a great... I mean... I feel like... It almost always feels like a great show. I feel like sometimes we have a better crowd with fewer people at Harvey's. That's what I'll say at Harvey's. And I know you're supposed to turn the lights down, so everyone's sort of like, ooh, I'm on the spot because it's dark. I can do whatever. But we just keep the lights up and whatever.
I think that's part of what makes it feel like a good show, though. You know, a lot of times, let's face it, not everyone's funny, right? Sometimes some people, you know, it just doesn't land or whatever. And with the lights down and that spotlight on a person, even like as the audience, it can feel real awkward. But something about this, even, you know, if shit doesn't land, people still get a giggle. And you even as a host have kind of riffed back and forth with a few people to jumpstart some stuff. What is it about Harvey's that you think tends to make this a great place to come watch a comedy show? Your show. What is it about this place?
I think you summed it up nice. The intimate setting. It's this place can have 40 people and feel full. You know?
Heck yeah.
This place can have 20 people and feel full, whereas Rupert's can have 50 people and feel half empty.
Yeah.
So it's an easier room to fill, and the crowds generally are here to laugh. We don't get many people that stick around that aren't here to laugh. I think some people filter in from the patio, watch a few comics. There's more foot traffic, but we are sequestered from the rest of the bar. So like at Rupert's is Rupert's. It's one room.
It's the bar.
It's the bar. So I feel like nobody comes up here unless they're up here to see comedy, and that means everyone's invested in the show. Everyone's here for comedy. So I think the crowds we get make it a good room, and I think we're gonna have talented regulars that make sure we have a good show every week. But for whatever reason, real comics will come do this room.
Well, speaking of talented regulars, one great thing I noticed about your room that I see here, I don't think I've seen it once somewhere else, but you tend to do a lot of roasts, right? And they're themed, right? The roast of Harry Potter, the roast of Batman. You got another roast, don't you, coming up soon?
September 20th, we're doing the roast of Darth Vader. That'll be a good one.
It'll be good.
We've done Mario?
80s video games.
Yeah, so like it was the roast of Mario, we did the roast of Captain America, we did the roast of Batman, we did the roast of Harry Potter. Was there another one? I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's all we've done. I think just those 4. So
what is it about those? Because those always seem to, like, everybody goes nuts over.
It seems like everybody's got like their gimmick. Like Louis has the improv night, you know. Shakespeare's does the Idiot Olympics. Rupert's did that Gong show. Rupert's does comic show. They've done shows where we swap jokes with other comics. Like Nate's real willing to mix it up and do some fun stuff. So every sort of host has got like a gimmick. And I feel like for whatever reason those character roasts have become my gimmick. So that's just a cool thing I like to try to do 3 times a year. We do 3 character roasts and 1 dead comic show. So there's something every quarter at least.
That's pretty awesome. But there's a regular comedy show, open mic comedies every single week, every Wednesday night.
And it's tough to maintain a room weekly. Shakespeare's goes every 2 weeks just to ensure they fill the place up. But we're not trying to get 100 people. We're just trying to get 25, 30 people here.
Well, and they do great deals up here too. Like at Harvey's, it's $3
you call us on anything. It's the best drink special in Kalamazoo on a Wednesday night. So I'm surprised that we aren't fighting a bunch of bar regulars off to find a few feet. Like this place should be inundated. I don't understand how they make money, but
it's actually the best drink special in Kalamazoo. Period. Any night of the week.
I think
$3 for anything.
Doesn't Papa Pete's do a $2? You call it?
I don't think they do like Goose and Tito's and Top Shelf.
That's
they might.
True.
I think it's kind of like absolute mid-level.
I got a $3 glass of the Macallan, and I was like, it's like $3 a glass at home.
Yeah. If
I bought the bottle, so.
You know what? This is a great place. Now, here's the thing. Everybody has their own style of comedy, right? Your style of comedy, one thing I've seen you do a lot of times is, you know, you research your jokes. They're well put together. And if something doesn't land, though, and it should have, I've seen you just bust right into the crowd like, you know what? That should have got more laughs. I'm not going on until it, like, I've seen you like give it to the crowd. Some people say don't because you don't want the crowd to like, but you have a way with like.
It's a gimmick.
And you do it well.
If a joke doesn't land, I still get a laugh by going after the crowd. That's 100% a gimmick. Some people are like, too soon, or that was just for me. Or that's my aggro version of selling a joke that didn't land. Like, it's 100% always your fault as a comic, but 95% of the time it's the audience's fault.
I like it. I like it. It does work when you do it. So talk to me about this. When you got started, because I know like you gave me a shot before Thanksgiving, and I've done it now I think maybe a dozen times. It's hard and it's scary. Like it's scary to get up in front of strangers and think like
it's still scary.
Gosh, it's still scary.
Maybe you don't do it enough.
Because you haven't told me that before, have you?
I don't know, man. Like,
I mean, I love doing it, but I feel like I don't want to fail the audience and bore them for 8 minutes. So it scares me.
Who's giving you 8 minutes?
Dude, what you said. See, and this is the part of him that I said. There's the asshole in you that you want to hate but can't.
Who the fuck is giving Matt 8 minutes?
At Holiday Bar the other night, no, it was 7 minutes we had at Holiday Bar, which that was pretty neat experience up there. But so here's the thing, like to me, it's still like I feel like, man, if I don't make everybody laugh, I'm failing. So it makes me nervous.
It's an open mic.
How'd you get over it though? How'd you get over the initial fear? Because I know some people probably think they want to try, but they just don't because they're scared.
None of this matters. If you eat shit the whole time you're on stage, guess what? You'll wake up the next day, you'll be completely unscathed, you'll be intact as a person. None of this matters. If you do really well,
it still doesn't matter.
None of it matters. You need to do well hundreds of times and get lucky for it to matter.
Okay.
We are practicing. If you're nervous about a scrimmage, you got the wrong mindset. You are performing, you're putting on a show, but at the same time, an open mic is practice.
Nice.
You should be nervous before, like, something that matters. When I hosted for Michael Palisak at Dr. Grin's, I was nervous. When I do open mic number 219 of 225 in a year,
just a thing.
I am doing open mics because there's stuff I want to work on. There are jokes I want to practice. And I do those jokes, and I use my 5 minutes, or 8 if I'm you. If I could get 8 minutes, I use that time to just practice, and that's what it is, practice. So there's no point in getting nervous about an open mic. Now, that said, sometimes people are like, I saw this guy kill it at open mic, let's put him on this showcase. So you're not trying to eat it, but at the same time...
If you do, it's not life-ending.
It doesn't matter, because whatever, you screwed up in practice.
That's fair.
It doesn't matter if you're good for like 5 years.
So let's talk about not being good, because like, I hear jokes where people say if they bomb that, they jokingly say someone else's name or whatever. What's a time that you just completely ate shit? Worst time you ever bombed?
The worst time I ever bombed was for a group of nobody at Dreamers in Muskegon. That was probably the worst show I ever had. None of my material hit. And for whatever reason, it bothered me. It bothered me so bad I left that show and I went and did Tip Top to wash the taste out of my mouth.
I don't even know what Tip Top is.
Tip Top is the first place I did comedy. It's a Grand Rapids Tuesday night show. That's the first place I ever got up. Because I Googled... I had a friend tell me that his buddy did comedy in Grand Rapids. A guy I've never met. He told me the name. I'm like, who? So I still don't even, but whatever. He's like, my friend does open mics in Grand Rapids. I'm like, all right. If your dumb friend could do it, I definitely could. And that was 100% of the impetus for me starting. Once I found out it was an option, I was like, oh man, your stupid friend can do it, I'll do it. So that's what it was. It was
awesome.
It was finally like, you know what, I'm sick of just not trying. And I had been writing down joke premises for years, but I never had any plans to get on stage. So I had a huge list of joke premises.
What were you going to do with them if you weren't going to get on stage?
Well, I did just whatever. In case
jerk off all over.
I wanted to make sure I had good material so I didn't have a bad... Because I didn't want to bomb my first time because I knew that would discourage me and then I'd never want to do it again. So it was 10 years in between doing improv.
Holy cow, that's a big
and starting, improv's practice for real comedy.
Well, it's funny that you say that because before getting to know you and some other people and then being able to come out and see the scene, I always thought open mic was improv is what I just didn't realize improvisational on the spot. And then Louis did the improv show, started doing them, and I like the little you got to pull out a premise thing. But it's interesting because thinking of improv, when I've seen you up there and you pull out a card, you don't just look at it like it's a question you have to answer. You tell a joke based on what comes out. I've seen, like, to me, when I see improv, I've seen, like, so much of that. It doesn't feel like it's a comedy show.
It's a skill. The thing, are you talking improv, or are you talking Louis Improv Night type, like...
Well, like, they did the little, I forget what the group's name was that did, the skit stuff after.
Oh.
And I just didn't, and not to knock, like, it's like, because I went there thinking comedy, and I just wasn't a fan.
I'm not going to touch that one.
No, I just mean, what's the, like...
I'm not going to disparage anybody.
Improv versus comedy, because a lot of people think that stand-up comedy and an open mic is improv. Like, it's on the spot.
Who thinks that?
I mean, everybody I've talked to before, like, how do you come up with stuff just when you're up there? I'm like, no, it's not like... But, so that was my mindset. When I first came out to comedy, I thought you guys all just kind of, like, got up there and did your thing and didn't realize the work that goes into it. So, talk about writing. Like, how much time do you spend, just guessing, like, how much time do you spend writing versus performing?
I do a lot of my writing on stage, which is why I need to get up so much.
Okay.
I get up over 200 times a year, and I feel like if I get up less than that, I'm not producing material.
Do you record?
Some people write out the jokes by hand. I record everything on audio, and I listen 10, 15 times to each recording.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So because I go up with a framework. Everyone's got a different method, and a guy who's 2 years in talking about their method is sort of like, oh, tell me more about your method. Open micer paid $0. Like, it gives a... God, it sounds pretentious. My method is... But, like, the way I find that... I go up with an idea. I was like, isn't it funny that in the, like, 1930s they used to refer to drugging somebody as slipping them a Mickey? And isn't that, like, it's so euphemistic,
right? Back
then, to, like, it was so, just the
like it's
ingrained social misogyny to, like, just completely sanitize horrible shit they did.
Yes.
It's like, I didn't date rape a girl with a date rape drug. I gave her a Mickey. It was delightful. And that was 100% the fact that it was called a Mickey, which is, it's euphemistic, and the fact that Mickey is the name of Mickey Mouse. That was all I went on stage with, and I just riffed for a little bit, and it didn't go anywhere. And I listened to that, and I was like, I could have gone this way, I could have gone that way, and I sort of, for the next time, I have a bit more. But I won't always tell. I'll listen to a recording. It's like, I forgot to say that thing I was going to say. The thing I said Tuesday, I forgot to say it Wednesday. So if you listen to it enough times, you can figure out what works. So I have a real... It looks like I know what I'm doing, but sometimes it's real loose, and I'll tell a joke 20, 30 times, and then it'll take shape.
So when you write, whatever, record and write in your head, do you, in your style of comedy, the way you deliver comedy, are you somebody who, like, all of your jokes should flow into a story? Because I know some people, like Cody's, very much, a lot of one-liners, and it's funny.
I say as much as I need to say to make the points I want to make. If I say a second paragraph, it's usually a second point I'm trying to make, or a tag, or something like that. So every idea gets its own, like, paragraph or sentence, but sometimes there's not a lot to say about a thing. It's like, hey, here's a pun. Pun should be 2 lines.
Right. So you look at I listen to a lot of times I'll listen to, like, stand-up comedy radio on Amazon, right, in the mornings or whatever. And it seems so different. Like, you'll hear comedians from the 80s, right? George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, even Chris Rock in the 90s. Like, you hear them, they seem to, like, tell a lot. Like, it's like a long story, but, like, the whole premise of the story is funny, and then it's like a quick joke. And then there's a lot more. But it seems like now
they get
what's that?
An hour.
Oh, true story. Yeah.
I don't have to fill an hour. So I do some 2-3 minute jokes at an open mic, but I've found that my opener has ballooned to 5 minutes.
Okay.
So if I wanted to just tell my opener, that's all the time I get. So I'm just trying to work on other premises to see if anything's worth it, and if it grows, or if I can combine it with something else that has a similar premise. But I'm not trying to fill an hour. Were I trying to fill an hour, I'd be able to stretch out more. But I'm running an hour 5 minutes at a time, and
that's awesome.
Sometimes you get to stretch out more, and you're like, oh, I could have riffed on this for longer. And then you try that. Sometimes you spend your whole 5 to 8 minutes on one joke, Sometimes you write a bunch of different crap. But I feel like the first time I did a half hour was before I thought I was ready.
Oh, no shit.
Where Carlo Winston and I drove up to, I don't even know, some place up north at a bowling alley. Brad Hall booked it, and 2 of his comics dropped. 2 of his comics were offered 10 and did 5. So he's like, I got an hour show to fill. And Rick and I were like, we can do a half hour. And when you stretch out, you find that if an audience member talks during a 5-minute set, it pisses me off. Because I'm like, please don't derail me. I have 5 minutes to talk about this.
Right on.
If you derail me and I waste 30 seconds, I have a finite amount of practice time. It's not Chicago. I can't do 4 shows in a night. I get 1 set, 5 minutes per night. That's all I get. So don't derail me. If I'm doing 30 and someone talks, let's talk to this asshole.
Then you can play with it and turn it into a premise.
But you need to do comedy for so long before you even get the opportunity to do those longer sets.
Yeah, that's crazy long. The thought of that is
but that's just it's hell. But because you're not ready. And I wasn't ready. And if you asked me to do a half hour tomorrow for like money in front of a camera, I would say no.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I got a half hour, but it's not good. I have a good 5 minutes. I have a pretty good 8. I have I will take this to a contest 10. I have a this shit's all pretty funny 15. And I have a gun to my head I could do 30.
Okay.
Now, I've probably written 5 hours of material since I started. If I had to tell every single joke that I ever wrote, I could probably talk for maybe not 5 hours, but that doesn't say like, oh, look at how much material I got. It's more like I had to write 5 hours worth of jokes to find 5 minutes that I'm proud of.
And that's a huge thing, and that's I would say that's encouraging too to hear, right? Because like the thought of 5 minutes, like, what's 5 minutes? It should be, boom. But someone was telling me, we were talking, I'm like, man, this is just so hard to figure out how to keep the flow. And somebody said, well, you should try and get a laugh every 7 to 10 seconds. And I'm like, holy shit, trying to think about like every 7 to 10. But then after hearing that, I was listening to, it was like Jim Gaffigan or something was randomly playing. And about every 10 or 12 seconds, there's some little thing that makes people laugh. But here's what I noticed more. With the older generation comedians do a lot of storytelling. What I hear now, a lot of it is quick. They're like, Bill Burr will tell a story, but it's not. It just doesn't seem like as long.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like everyone's got a different style.
Okay.
I feel like
maybe it just plays a lot of the same shit.
Are you telling me Anthony Jeselnik tells comedy the same way that Bill Burr does?
No,
that's true. You're always going to have your one-liner guys. You're always going to have your storyteller guys. You're always going to have your edgy guys. You're always going to have your clean guys. You're always going to have your... And by guys, I mean comics. I don't mean dudes.
No, but that was a perfect segue to the next question I was going to ask you, which is, at least in the local scene I've seen here, but then even looking at, I don't know, what I see promoted and big, it seems like it's very weighted toward guys, right? Lesser women, at least from what it seems like.
And everyone thinks that's because there's misogyny in the scene, but honestly, I think it's because women... not as many women sign up because there aren't as many women. I don't know anybody who doesn't give female comics time. I will give 100% of female comics who ask for time.
So you feel like there's just less coming out and asking because they see that there's less?
And I think there's something to be said for there being a little misogyny in the scene because I think women are uncomfortable.
Ah, okay.
Because I think just dudes who do comedy are socially awkward and don't know how to talk to women and make them feel uncomfortable, or they're like, oh, tell this edgy joke about broads because whatever. I think there's a lot of things that discourage women from doing comedy just because it's not that the scene won't give them time, it's that the scene will weed out a lot of women who don't have thick skin just because it's just a little uncomfortable. I think dudes are kind of shitty. So it's not like, if you're a female comic, you can 100% get time on my show, but are you going to, unless you're like hardcore enough about it to stick with it? Because I think it only takes one dude or two dudes being shitty or being a creep or trying to tag their joke with something that doesn't work and it makes everyone uncomfortable. I don't think it takes much to be really discouraging. I don't think dudes are discouraged from comedy. and I think women are, and I think that's what it is. It's not that no one is giving women time. It's everything else about comedy sucks for women, and I don't know what to do about that as a guy who runs a show other than not tolerating
when people are being dicks.
People being shitty to anyone on my show, but especially women.
So let's talk about people being shitty in general, though. Because it was funny. I saw the last time I was here, Tilko was doing set. Nate Tilko, who runs a show at Rupert's, and he was doing a bit about being at a cocaine party, and these two like white trash guys were up here. Because like, that's not how it is a cocaine party. This guy doesn't do cocaine. Like he was just heckling, but like a little sissy because he was like trying to holler at his sleeve. And how do you handle hecklers in a comedy show? Like, what's the right way or the best way?
I don't know. No one knows.
Everyone asks
comic. Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing you can ask a comic. You can't say, what's the way to do. You know how I handle heckle? I shut them down. I am so mad if I'm like 7th at a comedy show and someone heckles every comic and they're just like, well, back to my jokes. You gotta address it. Because they're being an asshole, but they don't always know. So many hecklers like, I helped the show because I said something stupid and you made fun of me and then everyone laughed. I helped.
So they genuinely think they're doing something.
Sometimes they think they're helping. Sometimes they're so drunk they don't know. Sometimes you gotta say something. And I'm not rude the first time I address a heckler, but if they keep talking, I will shit on people.
I've seen it and it's fun. I also saw somebody else, like someone was heckling, so they like invited them up and all of a sudden made them part of the show.
I invited a dude on stage who heckled at Louis one time. It was an improv night and I got 3 prompts and I made him do my 3rd prompt.
It was Dave that used to work at Louis. I was there that night. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious, and he was a little drunk and he was being foolish, and you worked it to your benefit. So I think that's part of the crazy thing too. So things that I heard from people when I found out about the comedy scene, I was like, oh, you gotta come to the shows. Oh my God, they're so fun. And some of the things I heard people say, well, I don't want to get made fun of.
That's why I address that at the beginning of my show. Usually I'm like, don't worry, you can sit up front because like we are more scared of you than you are of us.
Right on. So what are some of the things like for you talk about you've got a lot of material, you did improv, and then years later you finally did comedy, and you used an interesting word choice. You said this is practice. So the question is, practice for what? Is your goal like? Is this a career for you? Where you're going? This is what I want to do for a career.
I don't know. Everyone asks what my goals are, and you're supposed to have a goal. Everyone's like, I'm going to get my name on the wall at the comedy store or whatever horseshit their goal is.
Yeah.
I like doing this.
Nice.
And I want to get more stage time. I want to be able to do 30 minutes. I want to be able to get paid. And if all I ever do is drive somewhere in Michigan and get paid $80 to do 45 minutes, if that's where I peak as a comic, I don't care. This is fun for me.
Nice. You wouldn't know by the lack of smiling in the clerks, and now of course the sun is setting in a dark
hiding
room.
In the shadows or anything.
Yeah, true story. Now that the sun went down, it's dark as hell.
I wanted it all clerksy in here. So.
It wasn't.
I wasn't even supposed to do this interview today. So, I don't... Maybe my lack of ambition is going to hold me back, but, I have a kid. We are moving to a hopefully permanent house. I'm in the process of selling my house right now. It's a nightmare.
Oh, that's not fun.
So we found a house we like, and the people that live at that house are like, well, let's look at your house. Maybe we want to move into your house. I'm like, you're not going to move into my house.
Wait, you're looking to buy theirs, and they're going, well, heck, maybe we'll buy yours?
They want a smaller house because they're older. They don't want to maintain the big house, and I love their house.
That is a crazy premise, though.
If that fucking happened, how crazy would that be?
That would be awesome. And it would be crazy.
I was like, you need to buy our house first so we have the money to buy your house. That would be Dude, stranger things have happened, man. So... that's what we're dealing with this week. I was like, we need to have our house cleaned, staged, ready to go by Monday. And the realtor's like, they want to look at your house Thursday. And I was like, fuck everything. So we had 2 days to, so I've been...
That was today? This week?
This week.
Oh, Jesus.
They're coming tomorrow.
Oh, nice. I've got
so
it's weird. Do you know these people?
No.
Okay, that's what I was the next.
They keep you from me. The realtors want to run interference. I think they think if we met them and they liked our house, we'd be like, oh, we're not interested, and then like 10 minutes later we'd meet at a coffee shop. Do a home
swap.
Yeah, well, we don't pay the 3% realtor fee. They don't want us. They want to keep us away from each other, so we don't like cut the realtors out of the deal. Is 100% of that.
Of course.
So they don't want us to meet, but I know their names now. I think they cruise by our house. We saw these like two older folks in a convertible like come by our house and like turn around and leave. I was like, that was them. We got shit in the gutters. I don't.
They better not have driven by while the house is dirty.
Yeah, it was dirty. No, it's not presentable. It looks much better now.
Well, congrats in advance on the house.
So what I'm saying is I'm locked in. I'm locked in. So I'm in Michigan. I can't move to LA. I got a daughter. I'm probably gonna get tricked into knocking my wife up again. She's really good at tricking.
So I'm gonna before we wrap stuff up, I'm gonna ask you a couple of things. You touch on humor about your wife, about your daughter, right? You have use your own family and jokes. A lot of people talk about comedians. They're funny on stage, but they're just not happy people, or they're so sad. Or some people, I've heard people say like, oh man, I'd never be okay if somebody was making fun of my wife, my kids. Does your wife is she a big supporter? Does she love the comedy? Does she know obviously she's seen your bits?
Yeah, she's heard almost everything I've written.
And what does she think about the fact that
she thinks
so many revolve around her?
Funny jokes are funny.
Nice.
She's a good sport. I wrote this joke, and the punchline was like, how everything's getting dirtier on the internet. First there was like OkCupid, and then there was like Tinder, which is just for hooking up.
Yes.
And I was like, in order for guys to make another app that doesn't make women think it's going to be dating, just a hookup app, you call it something like Cunt Hunt. And a woman got in my face after a show talking about how misogynistic it was that I said cunt, and my wife wrote that joke. I didn't say anything. I was just like, well, it's your opinion. I went home and told my wife, and my wife's like, oh, I hate women.
I love it.
I just thought that was funny. So you know what? Like, just write what you think is funny. I think it's funny to write from a place of fear. Some people write like, ooh, this is wacky. And they were like, this is inherently wacky when we talk about how wacky this is. But I think if you talk about real subjects, you should write about something you're afraid of or something that bothers you. It's cathartic to go on stage and talk about how much SIDS fucked me up for like a year. I still go in my daughter's room when I come home and I make sure she's breathing.
You're like legit afraid of this?
Yeah.
And how old is your child now?
18 months.
Almost old enough to be referred to in years.
She hasn't died yet, but it only takes one time. It only takes one time for her to die, and then
she can't do it again. It's over.
So that's I'm afraid I'll fuck up as a dad and mess her up. I'm afraid that I will, permanently scar her. I'm afraid that I'll teach her the wrong shit. I'm afraid that my comfortable family life will dissolve. You gotta write about all the shit you're afraid of. I think, because that's funny. Because people relate.
It is funny.
Anyone who's had a kid, I talked about how crazy the birth process was. They took my wife, she wouldn't stop bleeding. And the second my daughter was born, they're like, we gotta go take your wife up and staple her twat shut or whatever they did. They did some procedure. The placenta didn't come out, so they had to go do some procedure on her. And I was shitting my pants, but I couldn't even be scared. My daughter was 10 seconds old and she took a shit right on me. And I was just dealing with that. Like, she was, the first thing that she saw was my wife, and the second thing she saw was me. And she knew my voice from me talking to my wife's stomach. And I was holding her. I was like, my wife could die right now.
Yeah, that's a scary experience.
So I made that my opener. Talking about the doctor doing the placenta extraction thing, and some people, but that was a scary moment for me. Like, I'm in charge of a person and I can't fuck this up, or a whole person is ruined forever. A lot of the stuff I've written over the last 18 months is other people that have ruined their kids.
That's fair, because there's a lot of that.
My newest joke that I like is about how Peppa Pig is a shitty role model.
Oh, God.
Because Peppa Pig is terrible at everything, but nobody calls her on it. And I was like, Peppa Pig is basically a white dude. Like, she's bad at everything. But everyone's like, yeah, just you do you. No one will call her on it. And I think that's fun. So I'm like, really, my wife is showing my daughter that's her role model? A white dude. So, whatever. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to do comedy, but personally, the shit I think is funny is mocking myself for being afraid.
See, no, this
everyone experiences.
This is one great thing, and we're going to wrap it up. But one thing I really appreciate about what you just said is you mock yourself. But one thing I really like is you're not up there just you're not some people do a lot of like self-effacing humor, like shaming, whatever. And some people it's funny, and some people think if I do it, it's funny.
I think all humor is self-deprecating, but I'm doing next level self-deprecating. It's not like, hey, I'm a fat piece of shit with tits, am I right? But you can go second tier. And like something that really stuck with me was Louis C.K. when he wrote that bit about being on the airplane, and he was like, there was internet on the airplane, and then they're like, the internet's not working, and the guy next to me was like, this is bullshit, and he made fun of that guy.
Yeah.
He said later that was his reaction.
Oh, he externalized it.
He externalized it to be like, no, fuck that guy. But that was him. That was his reaction. And I thought it was so funny to use your own fear and insecurity as a target and to mock everything you're afraid of. I love that so much. So
that's
a lot of the
stuff I didn't know that he was doing that like third person.
A lot of the stuff I write is stuff that I'm afraid of.
Nice. So speaking of fear, as we wrap it up, people that are thinking, hey, I'd like to go give open mic a try. What's the piece of advice you'd give them?
If you have any inclination at all, tear the Band-Aid off. Because you're going to be like, it's going to be hard. You're going to laugh at me. You know what? Just do it. Because you need to get that first time out of the way. That's the worst time. Tear the Band-Aid off. Because you know what? If you eat shit for 5 minutes, no one laughs at a single thing. You'll wake up the next day, you'll be intact as a person. And you'll either be like, I did that. That's a thing I did.
And then maybe you'll get 8 minutes.
super good. No one's super good at jumping out of an airplane, right? No one's ever the instructor's like, dude, you killed it. You're the best airplane jumper out of I've ever seen. No, you just scream the whole way to the ground.
Fair.
So you wake up the next day after that experience, you're like, oh man, that experience was exhilarating. Doing stand-up's exhilarating. I do it hundreds of times a year because it's always exciting to me.
Now,
so I would say, just tear the Band-Aid off. If you have any inclination to do it at all, just get up there. Don't be like, I need 5 minutes, so it's not... You know what the host is going to say when it's your first time? Like, this guy, it's his first time, laugh at everything, make this person feel good. You know, I've had all kind of people do their first time at my show, and some we saw again, some we never saw again, but at least they did it, and I waited 10 years. Don't wait 10 years. If you think you want to do this at all, just do it. I will 100%, if it's your first time, I will 100% give you time at Harvey's.
How do people get a hold of you? Tell them how to look up your show, the where, the when, and how to find you online.
There's all kind of stuff. There's a Facebook group on Facebook. Wow, Facebook group on Facebook.
Hey, where else is it going to be?
There's a Facebook group on Twitter. Just go to Instagram.
Wacky.
Okay, there's a Kalamazoo comedy Facebook group. You can message that group. Or you could go to the individual page for any of the shows. That is Sunday night Rupert's comedy, Tuesday night Louie's comedy, Wednesday night Harvey's comedy, Thursday night Papa Pete's or Shakespeare's comedy. You can message the individual people that run the pages. That's Nate Tilka at Rupert's. I guess it'll be...
Is it Adam now?
Adam West there's an announcement coming. So Adam West or Ashley Stoneman at Louie's, myself, Jason Alt at Harvey's. You got Nolan Riley and Dale Torrey at Papa Pete's. You got Bob Fredericks at Shakespeare's. So you can message those people, or you can message the individual pages. They all have pages, or there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Just type some stuff into the Googles, and it'll probably take you where you need to go, because we're trying to have Kalamazoo Comedy be the #1 Google search result.
It's definitely going to happen probably by next week. And thinking of Kalamazoo Comedy, I'm sure it's real expensive to go to all these shows. How much does it cost to go to any of these shows that you just mentioned?
The weekly open mic shows are for free.
$0.
And it's $3 you call it, so
Tonight,
you might
parties.
spend $9 for a whole night of live entertainment and drinking. I can't think of a better value for any sort of entertainment. Like if you go to a Tigers game, you'll pay $97 and the Tigers will lose, and you'll be like, whoa, the Tigers. So
And you'll pay $9 a beer.
$9 for one beer instead of $3 for the Macallan or a Tito's,
Grey Goose, anything.
Yeah.
Anything but Glenlivet and some others.
I got the Macallan one time. It's just a matter of, I think they've taken a few things off the shelf, but for the most part, you will get top shelf liquor for $3. And there's food specials. Just if you want to do comedy, I will give you time. If you want to watch comedy, this is a good place to do it. Kalamazoo has lots of opportunities almost every night of the week for you to see free live comedy. Cheap. Every show has a drink special. So the drinks are really cheap. The comedies couldn't be cheaper.
And there's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of good folks that show up. And it's a
nobody
fun time.
who sucks really keeps coming out.
True story.
I think audiences have a way of weeding people out. I don't think you could be terrible forever. Even if you're terrible when you start out, if you keep at it, you're going to eventually get better, if only by accident. So the shows are pretty good. For whatever reason, funny people want to keep doing Harveys. I keep getting funny people.
This is a great show to come out to. If you're in Kalamazoo, you're seeing this on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, come out tonight. The show starts at 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock or maybe a little later.
9 or a little later. $3 you call. It's great show, great atmosphere. Jason Alt, the host of that. Now tune in. 2 weeks from now, we've got Derek Lee Feltner coming up on the show. Also going to have after him, we've got Perry Menken, we've got Mike Logan, some great folks that are going to be on Meet the Comic. If you've never, if you live in Kalamazoo, Portage, Paw, Matawan, I talk with my hands all the time.
That's weird.
It's so hard not to.
Yeah, but like
it's
right in the camera, so like could you suppress your
here.
Italian genes for a second?
I'm not even Italian. I'm German, for God's sake.
You get that haircut's Italian.
Either way, well, I will agree with you.
What did I call you on that roast? Jersey Short?
Something asshole-ish, of course. Now it's just the Jersey Shore. Where are they now? Come out to any of the free shows. Come out Wednesday night to Harvey's. Tomorrow night, Papa Pete's. Sunday at Rupert's. Tuesday at Louis. If you're in the Kalamazoo, Matawan, Paw, Portage, any of the areas, it's well worth the drive. You're going to have one of the best nights of your life in Kalamazoo.
That's a lot of pressure.
For them, not you. Who gives a shit? They're driving.
Hey, remember your kid was born? That's bullshit. We got a free open mic with $3.
Dude, you saw a kid be born. At first, that's very scary.
Yeah, that's true.
So come out to comedy. Come see Jason, everybody else. You're going to enjoy the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Do you want to talk with your hands before I finish?
Hey, it's me. I'm German also.
Thank you. Such a dick.